What's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? Health insurance dude. When you file a claim, it is often denied because they're counting on you not escalating it. Once you do, your case goes to a medical management group, which ought to be called the "we don't want to pay" group. Keep escalating and involve your doctor. Fight for the insurance you paid for. I worked at Laurel. The cosmetics from Laurel and Lum are practically the same. But Lum costs like $20 more. This isn't a company secret, but I worked part-time at a Domino's franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002, but after working for him for a while, you realized why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses, in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account, to the college students working for him. The checks/money orders contained the memo line "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Farmer School of Business at Miami University, but I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. Marvin Covington, Oxford, Ohio Domino's owner from Vevey, Indiana, died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business, and do it right. I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some distribution problem. Fast forward a few months, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess, it would just get cleaned like normal and the next guest had no idea. I used to work in college admissions. Rich donors, athletes, and other VIPs have lower admission criteria. They still have minimums, but they're super easy to reach, even for a selective university. In the case of the university I worked for, BYU, children of General Church authorities also got this. The vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River, because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's much too small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit. This happens about once a year, when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15 to 20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision that's often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a clean-up day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop, either. Edit 2, a container to store the waste properly costs $200. Why waste taxpayer money when we can just poison the taxpayers instead? If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. I watched people work through grotesque, racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting and typing OK. If you pick up a wall phone at Home Depot and push 7, it activates the store-wide intercom. This works in every store in my province of fake. I don't think it's a bad secret at all. But back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something. Because every night, he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double-checking expiration dates / throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night, he would absolutely lose his temper and berate whoever was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now? Fuck that, I'll order more. Throw that shit away, we're not serving it. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products because that worthless bullshit that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. He also went out of pocket to hire some kind of specialist to clean out the fountain drink dispenser, ice machine, and all that stuff. The machine needs to always be as close to brand new as possible. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor?" No? Then it's not clean enough. He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor. He was just making a point. After we'd closed the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us and stay until something like 2 a.m. cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The end result of this was the store, the food, the equipment, and the facilities were always in squeaky clean condition. Customers, somehow, picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time. Because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when cleaning everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they'd never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store. He was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of higher-level corporate position, district manager, that required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. Ford parts from Mexico are way more reliable than Ford parts from Detroit, or at least they were before 2020. I worked in Detroit and we had some customers who were fussy about us always doing repairs with Michigan parts, but when we had a problem that wouldn't stay fixed we would always secretly switch to the Mexican parts, which did solve things. 2. I was a prison guard a decade ago and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job. It's easy as fuck and nobody pays attention to you, and he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time as he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. I'll say it. A place similar in name to Past Face Urgent Care, at least in the region I worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use toward their services and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance, because despite finance agreeing my method was correct, the regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. I worked for a restoration company. One time an elderly woman called them to clean her house. She was a hoarder or there had been a fire. I can't remember. Anyway, the company charged $57,000 for the work to be done, but in actuality they couldn't even get the charges to add up to $20,000. She couldn't file this on her insurance. There are other examples of gross overcharging, but this is the worst I know of that wasn't on the large loss side. The lesson here: if you have water, fire, mold, or hoarder damage and call in a company to clean it up, go through every line item on the invoice. Every single one. Worked at a American Toyota dealership in the body shop for 12 years. We would throw away literally everything regardless of the environmental impact. Car paint, which is nasty shit BTW, went straight to the dumpster. Radiator fluid? Down the drain. I even saw someone put oil down the drain a couple times even though we had barrels for it up in the service department. The only thing we saved was old car parts which the boss then sold to scrapyards and pocketed the money. The painter didn't ever wear a mask either. He is around 60 and still kicking despite 30 years of painting without a mask somehow. In a broadband company I worked for, I was tasked with editing thousands of complaints to avoid huge Ofcom fines. What company would you like to go bankrupt? Amway and other MLMs in existence. They ruined a lot of lives by giving people the false hope of financial security, driving people into debt and eventually bankruptcy. They definitely need a taste of their own medicine. Shut them all down. Ticketmaster. College Board. The Church of Scientology. Whichever one runs those child beauty pageants. Fuck them. Those payday loan companies. How does anybody sleep at night taking advantage of desperate people in such an insidious fashion? Edit. The question of the post was what company would you like to see go bankrupt? The question wasn't what good/service would you like to see disappear. The companies operate in a manner that is predatory. I don't care about the payday loans themselves. To give another example, coffee is not the problem with Nestle. The problem with Nestle is Nestle. Ticketmaster. Ticket bastard. FIFA. Nestle bro, I like their products more or less, but I just want them to be sold to other companies or SMTH just so that their insane unethicality is stopped. Pacific Gas and Electric. Fuck that company. Whatever company that sells insulin high AF. TurboTax. What are some places where no children should be allowed? Deleted. Strip club. The bar I work at, but people are shocked when they can't bring their kids with them. Edit. I pour wine in an upstairs tasting lounge. Due to our liquor license, children cannot be in areas where alcohol is being served. We could get shut down. I'm not being mean, I'm following the law and protecting my business. Stop bringing children into my bar and complaining that I swear. It's a fucking bar. Reddit. Beauty pageants. Spencer's LOL. I was in there with my GF buying toys a while ago. A little girl is in front of us waiting for her mom to buy her t-shirt, then the mother gives me the stink eye as she grabs her kid and walks away. Maybe don't take your kid to a store that sells bongs and sex toys? Social media. Most of the internet. Just had a baby crying in the movie theater like it was his religion. The 9 p.m. screening of Avatar at my local cinema last Friday night. Edit. Hey, race the story. My boyfriend hates going to the movies because of this exact issue. We chose the 9 p.m. session for this reason. Just after the movie started, a young kid directly behind us starts babbling and kicking the seats. We were thinking WTF? We asked the parents to keep the kid quiet. The dad said to relax and watch the movie. The mum was more hostile and said, shut up, that's my son, he has a right to be here, it's school holidays, etc. I'm thinking, yeah, but that kid doesn't even sound old enough to be in school. After a bit more of this, we decide to leave and get a refund. The mum tells us to get back on a plane as we leave. So now it's about 10 at night and there's no one at the box office, no employees anywhere. We found some security guards start telling them our story, asking them for help finding a cinema employee. Then I see the woman from the movie coming towards us. I hadn't actually seen her in the movies because it was dark and she was behind us, but there was just something unmistakable about her. She was looking for a fight. She starts screaming at us, getting our faces, calling us all sorts of names, accusing us of threatening a 3-year-old. By now there are about 6 security guards around us, most wearing body cams. One security guard got between her and us and she punched him right in the face. This was the end of the confrontation. The other security guards restrained her and called the police. Poor guy had a mouthful of blood. I couldn't believe how quickly the situation escalated. I knew she obviously wasn't a reasonable person since she brought a 3-year-old to a 3.5 HR movie at 9 p.m., but she assaulted an uninvolved person and went to jail over this. We left just after the police arrived. I felt pretty sorry for the father and the little kid when I saw them coming out of the movies. Snapchat and TikTok. The Duggars family home. Sweatshop. The apartment above mine.